Okay, so welcome back to part 2 of the Sans and Papyrus Poseable action figure, well not action figure, Poseable animation figure really, tutorial. So part 1 was sculpting, and now the second part is going to be his Poseable bits. So to start off we'll do the hands, but I'm also going to show you the template for the jumper, which the photo I show here of my template is wrong. I recommend you use one from the internet because I had to change mine about 10 times. I had to make it shorter and wider rather than the shape you see it. You'll see that later in the video though. So to start with, let's do his fingers, which is just wrapping some pipe cleaner up in electrical tape. I used white electrical tape because it makes it easier rather than having to paint a black or blue or whatever colour. However, I guess that is an option if you don't have white. Now you can see that I just made really long pieces first, and I'm going to divide them into 4. This is purely because I didn't want Santa's hands to be too big, so he's only got 3 fingers and a thumb on each. And he can still do all the gestures I want him to do. It means he can do the peace sign, which you'll see at the very end of the video, and he can wave at people and do his, whole, whatever you want to call it. So, putting them into the clay, I forgot to put holes in the ends of the clay after, so the pipe cleaner was tough to get through, so I actually had to get my screwdriver and drive it through hard clay afterwards, which was quite difficult. But once the fingers were done, I held them over so that it was really easy just to put them down in one place. I also used super glue to hold them down in one place, and you can see for some reason the middle finger didn't fold down properly. I think that was purely because of the super glue. So, sorry that seems really rude. It does close fully now, but so the finger's done. It was a really easy way of getting that sorted. You just had to add some super glue in the indents you made, so I removed them, put glue in, and then put them back in. And that I found really easy to do, but now that we've done the hands, you can easily move on to doing the scarf for Papyrus. Now I thought I'd go over the paints here that you'll need, and obviously you'll need your white and your black. You obviously need white and black for the Papyrus and Sans. This is for painting Sans. I thought I was going to do him here, and I decided not to. So these are the paints I was going to explain for you to use. So obviously you needed your white, you needed your black, you needed your yellow, your blue, and obviously for Papyrus's boots, because I'm making his gloves poseable, you need a red, and obviously a black permanent marker does help. So there's the blue. For Papyrus's underwear type shorts, whatever you want to call them, that's what that's for. And of course, if you're using a non-fabric hoodie and you sculpted your own hoodie, then you can paint Santa's hoodie with the blue. Now the yellow and the gold I'm going to mix together for Papyrus's yellow areas, because on the figure that I saw they were made out of gold Fimo or polymer clay, but I kind of like the yellow look, and I kind of got torn between the two, so I decided to mix them. Now obviously there's the red for Papyrus's boots. You can of course mix the red and the white together to make a lighter colour for his boots if you'd like, or I originally thought about changing Sans's pink slippers to a brighter pink using the red and the white mixed together. And the reason there's nothing going on the screen is because I wanted to be able to explain everything. But obviously I'm just going to move all these out of the way so I can make the next part. Now moving all the pieces in order gives you a good idea of how tall they'll be, and this is how I scaled them to the correct size next to each other. Which in the end I was really happy with the sizing. And you don't see me make Sans's shut eyelids here, although I did make some. It's very easy, you just do the same technique as the eyeballs. You just make a flat disc as well when you glue those two together so it fits in the eye socket as well as having a closed eye on it. Now to make the scarf, you need a pipe cleaner, because this was the big one. Now it depends on whether you want your scarf to be big or small. I made mine too big, and it didn't look right, so I had to make it thinner. I made it too wide. It was the perfect length, it was just too wide. And yeah, that was originally a sock puppet, but I cut it up, didn't I? So now you want to make one long wide piece so that you can get your 2 pipe cleaners in and make sure that there are no rough edge trims to it. I later scrapped this piece but left it in the video to show you how you can make the 2 different types of scarf. So the first one, you use 2 pipe cleaners and you can roll it up like this with the pipe cleaners inside, and you don't have to sew it, you can use hot glue. I did also cut the rough edges off because I was not happy with them. So now you line up your 2 bits of pipe cleaner on the inside of the scarf and you glue those down in place. Now you can see that I used super glue, which was a big mistake because it doesn't bond fabric and it bonded it to my desk instead. So I've now got, yeah, there you go, on my desk, which ruined it. Now my recording cut out here. And so I moved on to show you that it should be hot glue instead. Or I cut my recording out there, not it cut out. So I used hot glue instead, glued the pipe cleaner down first. And you can see me rolling it over into the correct shape. Now I rolled that piece over first and worked out that the next pipe cleaner should go in the middle rather than the other end, because you just have 2 pipe cleaners in the same place, which would mean you've got this floppy bit on the other side. So I folded this over first, and now be really careful with this, most people would burn themselves on here, but because I'm so used to burning myself, I don't have very many heat pain receptors in my fingers anymore because I kind of got rid of them through burning them too much, and so I'm kind of numb to it now because I'm used to all the heat from it. So here you go, you can see me gluing it all in place. And that did leak through onto my desk, but because it's a rubbery texture I can just peel it straight off, as obviously my desk is smooth. So now by adding obviously the pipe cleaners in with the fabric, it makes it poseable, so you can do blowing in the wind effects and all that sort of thing. So I went on here because I decided in the end that it was too thick, and so I rolled it over again after realising how thick it was going to be. So I folded it over, realising how thick it was and how out of place it would look. Because obviously you can see that it just wouldn't have been able to sit properly with his head and everything. It would have just not worked whatsoever because his head would have either been too high or the scarf would have come up too much. But it just wouldn't make sense, so just watch this part and you'll understand why it looked so wrong. So now I'm folding it in half here because it means that it was a better shape. However, in the end, obviously I didn't stick with this because it was too stiff and it just kept unravelling. And rather than it having some give so that the head would push it down, it pushed the head up and I wasn't able to pose the head. So now once again I got hot glue all over my hands, but I didn't feel it for a good 10 seconds because obviously my receptors in my thumb and forefinger are quite numb. But this did look really, really good, and I've still got it in case I decide to use it for another project, like if I make one out of clay with the bendy copper wire that I have, which is very good, it's much stronger, and I'll be using that from now on with poseable figures. But I kept it just in case I ever need it later, because it's a very good poseable scarf. So you can see me just being really precise and trying to hide the glue and make it look nice. However, obviously because there's 2 pipe cleaners in there, it made it too stiff and I was not happy with it, so I just put it to one side. I was like, I'll use that for another project, but not for this one. So you can see that I just wasn't happy with the way that that worked, so I went over and I made one with a singular pipe cleaner in it, which was much thinner and much easier to manoeuvre. So you can see the secondary scarf that I decided to go with here, which I personally think was a much nicer design because it just seemed much smoother fitting. But now here's how you do the poseable jaw. You get 2 small bits of pipe cleaners, drop the glue in each hole, and you fit them both together. This makes it poseable and it's still very secure. Okay, so moving on to the neck, it was really simple just to obviously glue the pipe cleaner through the neck and into the body, and then put glue in the head socket and push that down. Now the neck isn't glued in place, it just makes it more poseable, and obviously with the thinner scarf, his head isn't pushed back by the scarf. Now, I forgot, I cut out the first bit by accident and deleted the first part, but this is how to make his hands, and the face looked really funny, so I thought I'd show it up close to the camera. So I roughly cut it out, leaving excess on either side so that I could fold it over and glue it in place so it's got a front and a back to the gloves. Now I do have 2 different pairs of scissors here. One's for getting the fine tuning, and the other big pair is just for cutting straight through the excess to get rid of it. Okay, so now holding it together so that the glue sets, you can then cut out a rough mitten glove type shape into it. Doing the same for the other side, I did slightly have to stretch it over because I overestimated the size of this piece. However, it turned out fine in the end because I stretched it in the right places and you can't even tell that it's stretched. So now I accidentally took it off screen here, so sorry about that. But I'm just roughly cutting out the mitten shape into it, and then I will finesse it after. As long as you get the right shaping as long as you get the right shaping to it, it should be fine, and there is no issues with it. Now I did leave a little bit of wire sticking out at the end. That's so that it could easily be plugged into the end of his arms. As you can see there, it's a really good fit. So I just decided to cut off the rough edges, run glue along the outside, and then I'll pump that little hole full of glue and glue his hand in place. So now this is the template I used, which is not correct, so I'm not showing the full thing. However, this is the correct one that you should always use. So I recommend that you use that one. So these are the pieces I had, and these are the correct pieces that you need. I did trim down the pockets a bit because they were a bit big. I actually shortened them but kept them the same height so that his hands could still fit in. Now I did finish his body, shirt and his shorts. Don't worry about that. On the black and white socks, you just draw like a t-shirt and a pair of shorts. You draw what it would look 2-dimensionally, and you cut that out, glue it together, and you're done. It's that simple. I turned it inside out so that you can't see the seams, and that's all you have to do for that. Now stretching him out, you can see it was far too big for him. Like, way too big. So it took a lot of cutting down to shape, and cutting middle bits out, gluing it together, cutting more middle bits out, like I am there, folded it over, and then obviously you've got this excess on the inside, which I then cut out here. And I did the same with the edges where his arms will be, because it still came over and would have originally like perfectly shut over him, which I didn't want, so I got rid of it. So here's what it looked like with all his clothes on and all glued together. And this is the paint you will need. Same for Sans. And the only reason you need red is if you're going to do the other parts. So here are the product shots. I'm not going to show you me painting it, because I don't think you need to see me painting it. It's kind of boring. But I think these turned out really well, and I'm really happy with the way they turned out. So You can see that I did the symbols and everything on Papyrus, and I got the yellowish gold done, and it does slightly glimmer, and the back looks okay as well. So the laces are made out of clay as well. I thought this was just an adorable thing to do, and then the nice selfie kind of look to it. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.